find out, will Dr. Van As be joining us as well?
No, she's currently in Belgium at the moment presenting her research at a different conference.
Okay, perfect. Not a problem then. So then, without further ado, our next paper takes us to the margins, where innovation meets constraints. AI at the Margins, a literature review on digital learning in low-resource contexts, examines how artificial intelligence can support learning in environments with limited access and high potential. Presenting this collaborative work are Amanda Jankowitz, a lecturer and PhD candidate at Wits University, whose research explores immersive technologies, digital equity, and game-based learning in health sciences education. We also have Willem Mostert, lecturer at the Two Oceans Graduate Institute, specializing in visual arts education and the development of visual perception for primary learners. And finally, our presenter who is not here today, Dr. Adrienne Van As, lecturer in history education at CPUT, with over 15 years of experience in higher education and a research focus on transactional distance in online learning. Together, they invite us to reimagine how AI can enable learning where it's needed most, at the edges of access. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bianca, for that introduction. This presentation is based on a chapter that we wrote for IGI Global, Human AI Collaboration and the Evolving Role of Educators, and it's currently under review, so we're hoping that we will get feedback soon. Sorry, let me just quickly click to the next slide. There we go. So this chapter explores how the rapid integration of generative AI tools such as ChatGPT, Claude, and Genie AI has reshaped higher education by offering new possibilities for personalized feedback, creativity, and productivity. But it was also found that this technological transformation still remains uneven, as students in affluent contexts benefit from robust digital infrastructure and institutional support, while their peers in under-resourced regions face major barriers to access. This chapter investigates how access and literacy shape students' confidence, motivation, and capacity for original thought in developing contexts. And this unequal access to AI tools reinforces a long-standing education and socioeconomic divide. In developing countries, particularly in South Africa, Latin America, and in Asia, this limited infrastructure, affordability, and institutional readiness constrains how AI is effectively adopted within higher education. So without inclusive policies, AI may deepen rather than bridge this digital privilege. So the confidence and motivation, which stand central to self-efficacy, are profoundly affected by these disparities. And this chapter situates that AI is not merely a technological tool, but also a lens for understanding equity, access, and creative construction of original knowledge. Then the theoretical frameworks. This chapter is anchored in the three complementary theoretical frameworks of Bandura's self-efficacy theory, Piaget's constructivist learning theory, and Van Dijk's digital divide theory, which together explains how students' access to and integration with AI tools influences their confidence, their creativity, and their learning outcomes. So the self-efficacy theory foregrounds the psychological dimensions, illustrating how belief in their abilities to use AI effectively enhances students' motivation, their resilience, and their academic performance. And the constructivist learning theory adds that pedagogical layer that emphasizes that meaningful learning occurs when students actively construct knowledge through inquiry, reflection, and engagement with AI as a cognitive partner. And then the digital divide theory situates these dynamics within the broader social and infrastructural inequalities, showing that how material access and digital literacy shape who can meaningfully participate in AI-enhanced learning. So when they are viewed together, these theories form an integrated lens connecting individual confidence, active learning processes, and systemic inequity. And the synthesis of this demonstrates that equitable AI integration is not achieved through technology alone. It requires the alignment of psychological empowerment, the constructivist pedagogy, and infrastructural inclusion. And only when these dimensions intersect can generative AI truly foster originality, creativity, and justice in higher education. Then moving on to the methodology that we used in this study, the study employed an intentional qualitative literature review combined with systematic and scoping review elements for rigor and transparency. And this allowed us to analyze patterns, tensions, and theoretical intersections rather than to just summarize existing literature. So the peer-reviewed articles and policy documents from 2018 to 2025 were sourced from databases including Scopus, ERIC, EBSCOhost, Web of Science, PsycInfo, and Google Scholar, focusing on AI integration, digital divides, and educational performances across developed and developing contexts. So the methodology was also guided by the 3 theoretical frameworks to interpret the cognitive, pedagogical, and structural dimensions of AI adoption. And our inclusion criteria prioritized higher education, studies that examined AI access, literacy, and ethical use while excluding K-12 research and non-empirical works. And this intentional design enabled us to form a comparative and theory-driven synthesis that highlights how socioeconomic and institutional conditions shape equitable AI integration, which resulted in a very nuanced, contextual understanding of how digital transformation intersects with student confidence, motivation, and their creativity. So from the research, we were able to identify 4 main themes. I will be discussing the first 2 themes, and then I will be handing over to my co-author, Amanda Jankowitz. So the first theme that we identified is AI literacy in shaping academic self-efficacy, creativity, and motivation. So AI literacy has emerged as a foundational skill in higher education that enables these students to navigate, evaluate, and creatively apply generative AI tools within their academic context. So when students possess high levels of AI literacy, they can amplify their creativity by expanding the ideational search space and critically recombining information and producing original discipline-aligned insights. But this creative amplification also depends on equitable access to digital resources and institutional guidance. So students in well-resourced contexts can engage in deeper inquiry-driven learning, while those without access might face limited exposure and reduced confidence in using AI meaningfully. So AI literacy and AI self-efficacy form a reciprocal relationship where confidence builds competence and competence then reinforces confidence. And institutional scaffolding, ethical training, and equitable access are essential to sustain these cycles. So ethical and responsible use must be cultivated through structured policies and mentorship to prevent surface level engagement and dependency. Without guided literacy development, students then risk over-reliance on AI outputs. There's erosion of originality and the diminished motivation. So thus, we found that fostering AI literacy is not simply a technical goal, but a pedagogical and ethical imperative for empowering students as critical, creative, and autonomous learners. The second theme that we identified is equity and access in digital learning. So equity and access to AI tools is a defining factor in how students experience learning in higher education, and the persistent infrastructural disparities from unreliable internet connectivity to limited devices creates an unequal opportunity for engagement, particularly in developing and rural contexts. And these gaps reinforce socioeconomic disparities where affluent students benefit from stable digital ecosystems that enable sustained and reflective interaction with AI, while their disadvantaged peers are often restricted to surface level tasks such as summarization or translation. And this divide not only limits cognitive depth, but also shapes how students perceive their capability to engage meaningfully with technology. Then the psychological mediators such as confidence, motivation, and trust determine whether students transform AI access into active inquiry-driven learning. According to Bandura's self-efficacy theory, belief in one's ability moderates the impact of access. Without confidence, even equal resources can yield unequal outcomes. And then the institutional policies and practices therefore play a pivotal role when universities provide supportive infrastructure, training, and ethical guidance. Students can achieve deep engagement and enhance their creativity. So in the absence of these scaffolds, inequity in access evolve into inequities in outcome, illustrating that true digital equity demands both material and psychological empowerment. I'm now handing over to my colleague Amanda, and she will continue with the presentation. Amanda, I think you are still muted. We can't hear you.
Amanda, if you're struggling with your microphone, could I urge you to just look at the top URL bar? There's normally a little microphone icon right in the left edge of the URL bar with a little microphone or a camera. If you click it, it'll pop open, and then you can give permission to your camera, microphone, or sound. That might be an issue. I see the microphone's engaged. There's just no sound coming through, Amanda. I'm pretty unsure what to suggest.
I think for the sake of just not wasting any time, I will continue with the presentation, and then Amanda can just indicate when she has figured out her sound. So the third theme that we identified was institutional readiness and ethical frameworks. What we basically found was that the institutional readiness determines whether AI integration in higher education can either advance inclusion or reinforce inequalities. Effective governance and policy frameworks and national readiness strategies ensure that there's transparency, accountability, and consistency in AI use. In contrast, fragmented or absent policies in developing contexts leave adoption decisions to individual faculties, which can then produce uneven outcomes. So the preparedness of faculties and students is equally crucial when both groups receive structured training and professional development. AI becomes a tool for inquiry, reflection, and collaboration rather than just a passive substitution. The strong ethical safeguards and constructivist pedagogies are central to fostering equitable and responsible AI adoption. So these ethics frameworks that protect data privacy, algorithmic bias, and promote responsible use enable trust and engagement. So from a constructivist perspective, institutional readiness should empower educators to scaffold learning through AI-supported dialogue, creativity, and exploration. Then moving on to our final theme that we identified was then the digital divide. So the digital divide remains one of the most persistent barriers to equitable AI adoption in higher education. Van Dijk's three-level model distinguishes between disparities in access and infrastructure, the first level, skills and AI literacy, second level, and then learning outcomes, the third level. Across many developing regions, these devices manifest through pronounced geographic and demographic inequities, where urban students in well-funded universities benefit from reliable connectivity and devices, while rural and lower-income peers face erratic access and limited institutional support. So these gaps inhibit the development of AI literacy and digital self-efficacy, undermining students' ability to engage critically or creatively with AI tools. So the digital divide extends beyond students and include lecturer barriers, where educators who lack confidence, training, or institutional support are less likely to integrate AI into teaching, further compounding inequities. So addressing these divides requires systemic interventions that combine infrastructure investment, targeted professional development, and inclusive curricula that embed AI literacy as a core competency. So strengthening both student and lecturer self-efficacy through mentorship and contextualized training can transform AI from a privilege of the connected few into a catalyst for broader educational participation and innovation. Then from our research, we were able to develop a reinforcing cyclical model which demonstrates how the flow of AI can be used in higher education. So viewed collectively, the four themes, AI literacy, equity and access, and institutional readiness, and the digital divide, form a reinforcing cycle that determines whether AI promotes inclusion or deepen inequity. The cycle flows from access that enables literacy, and then from literacy that strengthens self-efficacy, institutional readiness that channels into ethical and inquiry-driven learning, and then outcomes feedback into access, either widening or narrowing gaps. So in the developed context, the cycle largely remains intact, which is only moderated by ethics and pedagogy, but in developing contexts, it often breaks at early stages of access and literacy due to systemic inequities. Then the recommendations that we found in our study is that to bridge this AI divide in developing countries, higher education institutions must treat AI as both a technological and social equity issue. And we recommend that strategic investment in infrastructure, integration of AI literacy across curricula, development of clear institutional policies, and embedding ethical safeguards such as data privacy and bias prevention is crucial. So supporting both students and educators through training and mentorship strengthens self-efficacy and creativity. Ultimately, sustainable AI adoption in the global south depends on transforming institutions from AI consumers into AI co-creators, fostering a more just and inclusive digital academic future. Going to say thank you. And then
Wonderful. Thank you so very much, Willem and Amanda. Amanda, sorry for your audio issues, but we still greatly appreciate you being here. I would like to open up the floor for questions, but I know that a lot of people like to type questions, so I do have a question for you guys already while people are typing. I think what was very interesting for me is that I'm struck by how this model actually echoes the idea from the previous presentation as well. That inclusive design benefits everyone, not just specific groups. If accessibility and AI literacy are both cyclical and mutually reinforcing, then how can universities embed these principles together so that improvements in one area naturally strengthens the others over time?
Thank you for that question. That was very interesting because last Thursday, actually this time, we had a colloquium at our office at Togi. And we are quite a few lecturers who are co-authoring and writing for this particular book. And it was very interesting to see how all of our studies aligned and answered each other's questions and also fed into the recommendations at the end. And we have a a colleague, Dr. Yassine Reiklief, as well as Dr. Mariette Ferry from University of the Western Cape, and they co-authored a chapter where they worked on a specific framework to make sure that AI adoption is an inclusive policy and a framework that they can work on towards ensuring equitable access in higher education. So that was also a very interesting study.
That's wonderful. I'm really glad to hear that. A lot of it doesn't really matter what faculty or what space we're in the university at the moment. I think we're all feeling the same way. So it's really good to see that we're all working towards a common goal. I see we haven't had any questions. So what I would like, Willem and Amanda, is if you are comfortable enough, we would love to take a screenshot of you, just for our little daily who spoke and just chatting and stuff. Please, would you be so kind as to share your screen if you're comfortable enough so we can take a screenshot? Thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
And with that being said, all the participants in the chat, please, if you are interested in this conversation and taking it further, Willem and Amanda have kindly shared all their contact details here on the last slide. I do urge you to contact them and to discuss this further. I'm sure we'll be sharing the information as well after the session. With that being said, thank you once again, Willem and Amanda, for being here and for sharing such wonderful information. I think it's so important, just in terms of the South African context in general, that we can share and network through all our networking. So thank you once again. Those of you that are participants and waiting for the workshop, we will begin in 2.5 minutes. We will just allow Dr. Karen Wallstra some time to set up in anticipation for that. Thank you so very much. Anki, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Bianca. I just want to see, Dr. Karen, you've already shared yours. Thank you so much. I think that we are just going to wait 2 minutes until it's 5 past, and then I will officially start the session.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are thrilled that you have joined us for this interesting session, Navigating AI, Developing Your Critical Lens, with Dr. Karen Wallstra. Get ready for a hands-on, thought-provoking session on using AI responsibly and creatively in your teaching and learning. It's a real pleasure to welcome back Dr. Karen Wallstra from KWC Evolve School. Earlier today, she already inspired us with her 2 presentations, Keeping Humans in the Loop and also Playful Pathways to AI Literacy. And now, as the cherry on the top of her contributions, Dr. Wallstra will lead us through a hands-on workshop on developing critical AI literacies, helping us bring thoughtful and creative uses of AI into our classrooms. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Karen Wallstra. The floor is yours, Karen.
Oh, well, thank you for the kind words. I'm really excited. And if you've got comments and things during the session, pop them into the chat, and then we can share them. You can interrupt me if you need to, if I haven't seen the comment, Doc, and just ask the questions. That I'm happy for you to do that. So if we're looking at how do we navigate AI and look at from ourselves, I think it's really important that we switch on our critical lens. And so what does this mean? Well, the first thing we need to think about in terms of the world of artificial intelligence is, for me, something that Noble and his colleagues wrote in 2022. They said the focus is not on